Did we miss something last week? I got a feeling we missed an episode or something, but I'm not sure, Wendell.
We might have been trolling. It's like, hey, are we going to do 2 episodes a week? And then nothing for an entire week.
No, we meant 1 episode every other week.
No, yeah, we're not going to. That would be terrible.
Yeah, but no, I'm traveling right now. We're actually moving the office to a new location. We're going to have multiple offices all over the world. Make it harder for them to find us, you know what I mean? Next week, however, we are going to be at PAX Prime in Seattle, and I want to say thanks to Corsair. I was talking to some of those guys, and they were like, hey, are you going to PAX? And I was like, I really want to go to PAX, but I'm moving the office, and I'm crazy, and I just didn't have time to work on it. And they were like, well, we want you to go to PAX. Go to PAX. And I was like, okay. So thank you so much, Corsair, for hooking us up. We are going to PAX Prime. And I also want to say thanks to MSI, because, you know, we didn't have an editing laptop, and I was like, oh, what the hell are we going to do? So MSI was nice enough to hook us up with an editing laptop that we can use. So we got Corsair getting us up there and MSI helping us out. So thanks to both of you guys. And I want you guys to go online and tweet at Corsair and at MSI. Thanks for sending Tech Syndicate to PAX. Or you can say thanks for whatever, you know, just tweet at those guys and say thanks, because it's really awesome.
If you guys can say thanks, if you guys can say thanks on the Twitter, it really does help us a lot.
So thank you guys for thanking them for thanking whatever. Never mind.
Thanks for thinking.
Yes. Last week we put some new T-shirts in the shop, and then the T-shirts sold out in like one day. Then I was getting a flood of emails by like Saturday and Sunday, like, where the hell are the T-shirts? So I ordered a bunch more, and I actually told the guys, please just make sure there's always 10 in stock. So I gave them authorization to continue reprinting T-shirts. And I wanted to mention something. Here's the guys that we're using for our T-shirts. District Lines. They're out of Orlando, Florida. They're actually a very good T-shirt shop. I recommend them if you're making your own T-shirts. When I first started, they were just doing, like, you know, heavy metal and stuff. And one of my friends was involved with the company, so I was like, oh, this is a pretty cool company. And now they're doing, like, all the big YouTube celebrities, like you see up here, like this person here, and they do, like, Smosh and all this stuff that gets more hits than us, but it's just, you know, a bunch of people screaming and slapping each other on the butt. You know, they get all that. But I want to show you what happened on the Geek section. Let's click on the Geek section here. They also do Geeks and Sundry, you know, respectable stuff. And as you can see here on the popular Geek stuff, 3 of our T-shirts, and there's tabletop, so that's Geeks and Sundry, but 3 of our T-shirts are on the top of the Geek section here. They either said something about their Geek section, or it says something about you guys being awesome, and thank you guys for ordering. So let's move on. Apple. We're going to talk about Apple in a good way. It doesn't happen very often, but, you know, when it does, it's something fun. So Intel, for a long time, they've been trying to do their a la carte TV service, and they've been having a lot of trouble with different cable companies. Cable companies do not like change, and they do not like the internet because they do not understand it. Like Rupert Murdoch was saying in Australia, I don't understand this internet thing. I can't be the king of that, so I need to kill it all. But I can be the king of TV, and I understand that market, so I can be the king there, and that's okay. We can let that live, but we must kill the internet. Well, Apple, they're not even dealing with the cable companies. They're going straight to HBO and ESPN and Viacom and all the different providers, and they're saying, hey, we want your content, and we don't care about, you know, the Comcast, and we don't care about everybody else. We want to deal just with you. Wendell, what do you think about this?
I think it's pretty interesting. You know, we had a Time Warner blackout with CBS, which is one of the broadcast networks.
Yeah.
And I think a couple more episodes like that, and they'll have the broadcast networks on board as well. Certainly Apple going to HBO and saying, look, you know, Netflix is catching up with you real quick. You're still profitable. We can turn you into Netflix overnight real quick. And that would be a convenient thing for HBO. So I don't see why they wouldn't do it.
HBO still, yeah, they still have a huge piracy problem. And a lot of times they don't consider it a piracy problem. I've seen some interviews with some of the relaxed and groovy directors that are like, hey, man, Game of Thrones and Boardwalk Empire, at least it's getting out there to everybody, and, you know, we're getting a huge audience. But I mean, wouldn't it be nice if people were willing to pay for that content that they cannot get because they don't have cable? And what if they were willing to pay for it, and now there's an alternative like ITV or Intel's service or another internet service, or maybe you could upload your own stuff and charge $5 a month. Who knows? That would all be nice. It's time to get with the freaking times. It's time to give us a call. We'll be happy to take a fee and be your consultants to help you update, because the new way is the internet.
I would be very surprised if these broadcast networks are not on board with this, because I don't understand the difference between broadcasting to an antenna. So like with CBS and the other networks, you can just put an antenna outside and pick up those stations in a lot of places in the country. What is different from an antenna versus the internet? That doesn't, it doesn't make sense that there's so much restrictions on one, but the other one's wide open.
It's all just what they understand. So that's pretty much all there is to it. Comcast is suing Torrent Freak. Now, this is kind of an interesting article. I'm going to let you get into this just a bit. But
well,
Torrent Freak, they're just a
sue.
journalistic... Well, yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. They threatened to sue. They sent, like, a cease and desist letter, which is sort of... It can be seen as a bully tactic. A lot of times, even if there's nothing going on, someone will send a cease and desist letter, and it can sort of stop a problem that's not really legal, but...
The situation is basically that... It's you remember our old friends Prenda?
Yeah,
Prenda is
fun.
at the heart of all this, basically. So what happened was the Pirate Bay released IP addresses, and this has been a while ago, of the people that seeded the porn movies that Prenda was suing people about. And so Prenda, their business model was to sue people that downloaded porn that they own the rights to. Theoretically, there's some how they acquired the rights to some things or how they vested the rights is a little shady, and there's separate court cases involving that, but... so basically, the Pirate Bay released the IP addresses where this originally came from. And so for one of the court cases for somebody who's being sued for downloading that, subpoenaed Comcast to see who owned that IP. And it was the Prenda law firm, which was a surprise. And so Torrent Freak published that, and then Comcast was like, oh, that's ours, you need to take that down. But it's public record. It's a matter of public record. They have no legitimate grounds there. And they threatened the ISP is the crazy part.
Well, the thing about the ISP is the ISP gets scared, and they're like, we're going to shut you guys down because of this nonsense that's going on that's not even legal. So I wanted to bring this up mainly because it's an abuse of the system, and it's always good to shine lights on abuse of the system so that we can cut back on them, because there are so many DMCA takedown notices, and there are so many cease and desist orders that go out there that are basically just scare tactics to get you to remove something that they don't want the public to see, or something that they're working together with, and there's money involved in it. It's just nonsense. So we need to cut back on this sort of nonsense.
Well, TechDirt had an article that was like, if a couple of people that are just upset with something can send a letter, and your ISP, your provider, threatens to turn you off if you don't respond within 24 hours, the system is fundamentally broken. And I agree with that. What if they were on vacation, or what if they were out of the office? It's not reasonable to expect that somebody is available at a one-day notice for this kind of thing. Everything else in the legal system is like, you've got 30 days to respond, which is much more reasonable.
Scare tactics. They're ridiculous. Speaking of something that's scary, let's take a look at this invention from Cincinnati, Ohio. There's a company up there called Capture, with a K, spelled with a K. There must be a rap group on the side. They've made a wristband. Actually, the wristband's called the Capture. And it records everything, 24 hours a day, just records all audio. Now here's the catch. It only retains the last 60 seconds. So if something happens, you get directions to a place, or someone says something you want to, maintain, or maybe it's something incriminating like, I've been sleeping with your second uncle's cousin, and you wanted to keep that to tell them about it. So you just have to, retain the last 60 seconds, and then you can save it or whatever. But I'm not sure what the implications are with this. Some people are freaking out about it because it's recording all day long, but it's not like it's uploading to a server or anything like that. So do you think they're overreacting, or do you think this is like a legitimate privacy concern?
I could see something like this. This could actually be a really handy application with Google Glass. Is like somebody says something and it's like, oh, I need to remember that. Hey, Google, save the last 60 seconds of that or whatever. Yeah. And this, where it only keeps 60 seconds, I think that's pretty reasonable. Because, it is trivial with the technology available today to actually make something that records for 24 hours and stores it for 24 hours or days or weeks. I mean, a 32 gigabyte SD card could store weeks of audio. Well,
here's the interesting thing. They're trying to raise $300,000 on Kickstarter to make a device that I feel is a redundant device, because just like you said, our cell phones could do this and Google Glass could do this with a simple app. So do we really need a wristwatch to do this when you can already do it with current technology? Just all we need is software? Really?
Well, I think the only phone that's on the market today that just came out is the Moto X, and its audio is always on as well. The thing that you get with this is you might not know that you needed it until after the window of opportunity has passed. And so with this, you can sort of get it out and be like, okay, save the last 60 seconds. But with your phone or something else, you've got to get it out and be like, okay, record, and then record it, and blah, blah, blah. With Glass, you can get that serendipity. With this, you can get a serendipity. With most cell phones today, you don't get that. But the Moto X is always on and recording the same way, so maybe somebody will make an app for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it's going to affect the battery life, but it doesn't seem to do that much to the Moto X. So who knows? Yahoo's now beating Google. They're the #1 site on the web, and this is according to ComScore, and they've looked at a lot of different.
It's
Google
traffic.
Yeah, it's just pure traffic, and it's not just the Yahoo main page. It's all the other services like it does. It doesn't include Tumblr, which has like 133 million blogs. But it does include Flickr and Yahoo News and Yahoo Answers, which is just a treasure trove of nonsense because any idiot can be an expert on Yahoo Answers. But
the size of those pages is huge too. So versus, it's like page views or whatever you want to compare to Google. Google's still pretty huge. So I don't see that as all that earth-shattering. But one of the things that I thought was interesting with that Marissa Mayer was working on is that all the new Yahoo stuff is going to be mobile-centric. And so that's going to be interesting to see how that shapes how much traffic they drive.
Well, if you got a bunch of eggs and there's only, like a few different baskets, I would put most of them into that basket, the mobile basket. And I think that's a really smart thing for her to do. So maybe me making fun of her a few months ago was a bad idea because that seems smart, and now they're doing pretty well. And anyway, where was I going with that? This data does not take into account mobile. So I think that mobile is such a big deal that should be on all reports, and I'm going to kind of look at this and be like, whoa, but not going to be like, whoa, until I see the entire picture that has, and that encompasses mobile as well. You ready to talk about Tesla?
Let's talk about Tesla, and we're talking about Tesla, the American electric car company, not Tesla, the scientist who's been dead for a while.
Oh, yeah, I need to specify that now because we talk about Tesla so often, and it's typically about the new company named after the scientist. It's run by Elon Musk. He's the CEO. Elon Musk is a disruptor. He likes to jump into industries and be like, listen, you guys are doing it the wrong way, and I know the reason you guys are doing it the wrong way is because the industry says it must be done this way, but I don't care. I'm going to do it the right way. And he's got his car. It's electric, runs on a lithium-ion battery. And this year they outsold Buick, Fiat, Land Rover, Lincoln, and Mitsubishi in Q1 and Q2. I look for them to pull ahead. These are expensive cars, though. So there's that. They also shattered all of the safety records. They're the safest car on the planet. The Tesla is the safest car ever on the planet.
That's really impressive considering the lithium-ion batteries. I mean, those can't wait to catch on fire, and they didn't.
They tend to burst into flames, not just catch on fire. They like to burst into flames. So yeah, the lithium-ion battery, just fine. And something else that's kind of funny, the top of the Model S, it's so strong that it broke the crushing machine that's supposed to test the durability. Well, you were telling me that this thing can, how many cars is this supposed to, you could stack up 5 or 6 cars or something?
I think there was a quote from Elon Musk that said that you could put 5 cars on top of one another, and that would be the breaking point for how much mass it takes to break that.
So you would have to crash and have 5 cars land on you before it crashes.
Yeah, before the top caves in, it would have to be the weight of 5 cars.
And they're also pretty sleek. You would expect something kind of clunky and ugly with test results and specs like this. So that's pretty interesting. So they've got lithium-ion battery. They've got the best safety record in history. They've got the strongest top ever. And then Texas has said that they're illegal. They're no longer allowed in Texas. We don't want that kind of crap here. We're happy with our whatever the hell we have in Texas. The reason they're illegal is because in Texas, you have to have a dealership that's privately owned, and then they can sell like Fat Billy Bob's or Jim Tooth's auto sales. Is that a pretty good Texas name? Hi, I'm Jim Tooth, selling Tesla auto cars, mobiles.
Theoretically, that's done to protect consumers from out-of-state companies that may or may not apply under Texas law, but here it's just seen as seedy, anti-competitive, and just downright shady.
Well, also, in Tesla's defense, they need to have their own. They need to have full control over the entire process because these cars are different than old cars. They're not just like, hey, you get it, you put gas in here, you put the key in here, and you drive. It's new technology, and therefore the salespeople need to be able to inform, the buyer of everything. And if they do not, there can be some issues that, customer service issues or even safety issues. So Tesla needs to maintain the entire process or maintain control over the entire process, sort of the way Apple does with their devices. But they've got a pretty good excuse for why they need control. Also, they need all the money because they want to keep the price as low as possible because these are expensive to make, seeing as how they use the latest technology and, it's a disruptive technology, so of course it's more expensive. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with this. I'm sure Musk is going to be fighting this in court as much as he possibly can. But we'll have to keep an eye on that.
It's definitely against the spirit of the law because the federal laws are such that the consumer protections is pretty good. And this is a new technology, so I feel like they should be given some leeway.
Yeah, it's also not exactly, capitalist.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange.
No, you must have a middleman by law. It's like, that sounds like government interfering with, private enterprise. And isn't that what most of the people in Texas believe should never happen? ... question mark.
Come on, guys. Somebody in Texas, I want an apology or an explanation for this. I'm holding you guys responsible because you guys put the people in power who did this nonsense. Wait a minute. That means the rest of the world is going to hold all of us responsible for putting the idiots in power that are really screwed. Never mind. I never said anything about this. All right. Let's go on to hardware, shall we?
Hardware.
MakerBot Digitizer. A 3D scanner for your desk. $1,400. Are you getting one of these, Wendell?
I would love to get one of these. It's a neat toy, but the neat thing about this is that it's made for non-3D modelers, so anybody could get one. They want artists to get one and tinkerers and things like that. Make a 3D model, and then you can print it out on your 3D printer.
There may be some problems. I'm already looking at the problems from this. Okay, let's say you have a Lego set. You can scan the Lego set and reprint the Lego set. What if you can reprint the individual Lego blocks? What if you can get like Warhammer 40K models and print as many as you want and just build your gigantic army without giving any money to, what is it, the Maker Workshop? Games Workshop. Is it figure piracy?
I see people doing this. Yeah,
Figurines?
I mean, I see people doing stuff like that, and it's going to be really awesome, creative stuff. And it's not going to be, this manufactured thing. It's going to be something individuals make, and it's like, look, this is the troll that I made, and people go on, the Thingiverse and download somebody's, minifig that's a troll, and it's like, my troll's amazing.
Yeah, I hope that's what it becomes. I hope it doesn't become a place where people can just make copies of stuff that already exists. What are the damn things called that start with a T? The Tyranids, yes. They're going to go make their own Tyranids. I hope they make their own creations with their own stats, and that could be fun and interesting.
You guys should check out Thingiverse, THINGIVERSE.com. It's a clearinghouse for 3D models that you can download for your 3D printer. And so this is going to explode because people are going to make things out of clay or whatever and then scan it in, and then it's going to be on here. And this website is already completely insane if you have a 3D printer.
I typed in Thingiverse, and I got like something totally not what you just said. It's a landing page. This page for sale. You want to buy? Do you want to buy Thingiverse, Wendell?
You can see the 3D gnome that they scanned on the front page. There.
Oh, right there it is.
Blue.
Yep. So they scanned that in and then reprinted it.
Yep.
That's pretty damn nice. And once it gets a coat of paint, that could be really awesome. Yeah, I need one of those. The Ubuntu Edge failed. They did not reach their $32 million goal.
Oh.
I did not buy one. You did not buy one.
I did not buy one.
I wanted one of those things, but I share your fear. What if the companies get involved and they destroy the Android that's on that? They destroy the essence of Android. We've got such a problem with Android right now because there's a million different flavors of Android, and every different company out there takes all the different phones and they bastardize Android and they install bloatware. I feel like the Ubuntu Edge may have been able to bypass that. I feel like they would have maintained more control than most, but I don't know. I really wanted this to come out just because the technology needs to be
for the Firefox OS, honestly.
Really?
I hope, because I think companies are going to corrupt. Like, if you have a fully open source, not controlled operating system, I think too many other companies that are right now beholden to Android are going to pick that up and run with it. Like Samsung has been working on their Tizen stuff for a while.
Yeah.
And the only reason they're doing Tizen is because they don't have full control over Android, or they can't do whatever
Android
they want
has
with
become
Android.
a mess. It's become an absolute mess.
It has.
Because you have all these idiots trying to take it over. Android, we can do whatever we want with Android.
Yeah.
So,
it's like, oh, look, I'm successful. I'm going to do this. And you have mobile carriers doing the same. Verizon's like, we're going to run the Verizon version of this. And it's like, just stop.
If you're running the latest version of Android, or if you're running like a custom ROM and it works on your phone, then it's awesome. But if you're not, if you're just a regular person who doesn't know how to install a custom ROM or doesn't know how to remove all the bloatware, then it can be hell. So I think I mean, I wish the Ubuntu Edge did come out, and I would have liked to play with it, and I feel like it may have been able to beat a few of the obstacles there.
I'd say they're going to do something for that anyway, so that's probably not a big deal.
Yeah, they'll probably come out with something. It may be a little bit more expensive, but who knows. All right, let's talk about graphene for a second. Now, silicon can only get so small, and it can only get so fast. And by the year 2026, it's going to be at such a small manufacturing process that it really can't get any faster. But we're still going to need more speed because we're people, and that's what we do. Every day we wake up and say, how can we make everything go faster? And the answer may be graphene. The problem with graphene so far has been that it doesn't really have an off state. So even though they got it to 427 gigahertz, which is absolutely absurd, that was in a transistor, they haven't been able to turn it off. So it looks like there's been some breakthroughs here. So I'm going to let you go ahead, Wendell, with what's going on here.
The deal with transistors is the digital transistors are really, you got to understand that transistors are basically analog critters, and digital transistors or transistors used in digital circuits is really just a hack. And the transistor goes between a conducting state and an insulating state. And graphene doesn't really behave the same way. And so these scientists are saying, well, if we're talking about switches, switching between this and the other, graphene is actually a better model than a transistor because it can switch between states. There's just not not an insulation state. But
we just have to rethink a few things.
Yeah, you just have to rethink how it's done. And with graphene, it's basically between a conducting state and a superconducting state, but it's not really exactly superconductivity. But I think that they'll find that probably plays a role in that. And so that is more akin to a function that a digital transistor needs to do. And their proof of concept will switch like a transistor at 427 gigahertz, but a transistor in the digital sense, not in the silicon equivalent.
How are we going to get faster than 427? We got to get faster. Let's move on to some more ridiculous stuff. Zalman is launching the world's first CPU liquid cooling unit that uses nanofluids. And I'm not going to get into this or talk about what it means because I haven't tested one. It could be a gimmick. It could just be some like mumbo-de-jumbo-de. Could be.
We'll cut the heat pipes open and get cancer.
Yeah, it could be. Well, I can't say that out loud on the tech. What it could be inside those pipes. Don't open those pipes. We don't know what it is. Zalman sent us one. We're going to play with it. And
I can tell you what's inside the pipes. It's canceranium.
Canceranium? These pipes come filled with canceranium, but it'll keep your system so cool. And if someone invades, you just open up your side panel and kick it, and everyone dies.
We've also read that carbon nanotubes make a really good heat conductor because apparently you can design a carbon nanotube that only conducts heat one way. But this is a commercialized product on the market today that claims to be using nanotechnology. So is it marketing hype or breakthrough? We don't know, but we'll get one and take a look at it.
Yeah, Zalman, hey, we've been using you guys forever. Send us some stuff. All right. Let me open a few more tabs.
Tweet at Zalman. It's like, hey, Zalman, want to send one to the tech for review? ...
Yeah, everybody add Zalman. Send that to the tech. All right, we talked about Lavabit. That's the email service that Snowden may or may not have been using. We talked about that a little while ago. I guess a couple of techs ago because we missed a tech. Anyway, Lavabit was a very secure email service, and they were given a couple options. They were given an option of being prosecuted or shutting down. And so the owner of Lavabit shut down.
Yeah, the owner said that I can become complicit in crimes against the American people, or I can shut down, and I've opted to shut down. So it was his choice to shut down rather than become complicit in crimes against the American people, as he described it. But when asked to elaborate further, he's not allowed because he's under a gag order from this secret court.
Yeah, and he says that technically his constitutional rights would allow him, but it sounds like he's been strong-armed into not speaking. But he did say that he's going to keep standing on his soapbox and shouting as loudly as he can because his biggest fear really was that this would happen and everything would go away and then this entire incident would be forgotten. But, I mean, for his own livelihood and also for the good of the Constitution and also for the good of just the world, because, this junk shouldn't be happening, he's going to keep talking and hope that people are listening. So we're listening, dude.
It's also worth mentioning that other secure email services were also elected to shut down in the face of this type of pervasive surveillance against everything.
All right, now this is actually kind of good, and we don't usually have good news in this segment. The EFF has been fighting for the release of an 86-page document. There was, I guess, the secret courts they ruled as to the constitutionality of the NSA and what they're doing. And all the results from that case were made secret, just completely classified. And the EFF was like, hey, this is the results of a court case. This should be public. We need to know this stuff. So they sued, and now all this time later, the document has been released. And sure enough, the secret courts ruled that the NSA was breaking the law and it was unconstitutional. But everything was secret, and they just kept freaking doing it. So what the hell?
Yeah, it's really interesting because a lot of the talking points, like there were some more talking points that came out in these rulings that said that the FISA court was saying, we're not sure what the NSA is doing, and we're not sure about privacy violations, but we can name at least 4 instances where we've caught the NSA lying to us. We don't know what to do about it. We don't know to what extent they're misrepresenting things that they're saying, and we don't know how to check this or control it. And, one of Obama's talking points was this thing is very well regulated, and the FISA court has power to keep this in check. And we have the 3 branches of government, basically, that are in balance. And, Obama's saying, well, the courts are, keeping an eye on what the NSA is doing. And here we have the actual ruling where the court is saying, no, we have no idea what's going on. We don't know. So
there's a mix-up somewhere. And the other thing that's been really funny is that, Snowden keeps periodically leaking more data. And remember back when they said that they knew everything that he took on the flash drive, right? So he keeps on leaking stuff, and they keep having to backtrack. And now they're having to backtrack about even more because of this release from the EFF's lawsuit. So they're just backtracking left and right, and every week they're like correcting and changing their story. It's becoming almost hilarious in a sad kind of way.
Obama's other talking points on this, in the beginning, when the leak first happened, he was like, now look, we've got a surveillance program, but we're not spying on American citizens. We're not scooping up emails. We're not listening to phone conversations. None of that's happening. That's just crazy.
And then,
blah, blah, blah. And then a couple of weeks later, there was a leak came out, and, some of the things that were in his talking points were invalid. And then, they cover their ass and say, well, what we actually meant that the color red was actually blue, and blah, blah, blah. And that's not what I meant.
It's actually where the ground is what we meant.
And so that's happened like 3 times now, and now, mainstream American press are covering that is like, oh, well, here in this ruling that the EFF got released, there were, the court was saying that the NSA apparently scooped up 56,000 Americans' full email correspondence. But at the same time, we had the president saying, oh, no, we don't have a database of email that can be searched, and we're not scooping up email in the first place, so that's crazy. And so I don't know which is worse. Is Obama lying, or does he know less about what's going on than some, B-grade junior contractor that fled to Hong Kong? I don't know which is worse.
Both are worse.
Obama's in a superposition of both lying and not knowing.
Quantum Obama.
I don't. He's kind of getting called out in the international press as well, and it's creating interesting situations in Britain. That the journalist Glenn Greenwald Snowden was working with.
He's been working with Snowden. Yeah,
his partner was on his way from Berlin to Brazil, and he had a layover in London. He wasn't actually wandering around London; it was just a layover. And when he landed at the airport, they detained him for 9 hours. Took everything of his that was electronic, his DVDs and things like that, and they did so under the auspices of a terrorism investigation.
Oh, he was obviously a terrorist because he had a laptop and a pen.
Well, he's obviously a terrorist because he's a journalist reporting on the truth.
Bradley Manning's a female now. That's something.
Well, he was sentenced to 35 years, and now he gender identifies as a woman. So, I don't. There are 8 other spies who got shorter sentences than he did.
You know what else is funny? I think a lot of the press is going to take this, and the entire story is going to become about Chelsea Manning. It's not going to become about what he leaked. So I'm a little bit worried about that. He can do whatever he wants to do. That's not what I want to talk about right now. I just want to make sure that his what he did doesn't get watered down because now all of a sudden they have something juicy to talk about. This is some Jerry Springer stuff right here.
It's like, here we have somebody who leaked a bunch of information about stuff to WikiLeaks, and we're focusing on what gender he identifies as versus the war crimes he uncovered.
Here's the spies that are, got lesser sentences. You guys should take a look at this article. It's fun. All right, what's next? I got to open up a bunch more tabs. It should be the last time.
We're done with that. Let's talk about games, because games are fun and take our brain off the horrible, disconnected, just terribleness of terrible.
Let's talk about games. I am very orange. Sorry, the camera. I'm like really, really orange right now. All right, we're going to talk about EA because last week, and we didn't cover this last week because we didn't have a freaking show, but last week, the Humble Origin bundle was unleashed upon the world. And in the bundle, we had like 7 different games. We're talking like AAA EA games, you know, like Dead Space. No 2, Dead Space 3, though. Crisis 2. I forgot what else was in there, but just a bunch of EA games. The Sims 3 and I feel like Battlefield 3 was in there. But yeah, Battlefield 3 was in there. And then Medal of Honor. Yes, I remembered them all. So all these games were released, and EA decided to put them up for the Humble Bundle. You pay what you want. If you pay over like the median price, which was like $4.80 when I got mine, you got all the games, and they didn't take a penny. It was all going to charity. Every penny of it going to charity. And today, they just announced that they're going to include 2 more games for anybody that paid over the median price. And those games are Command & Conquer Red Alert 2 and some other game that I've forgotten right now. It's a Populous. Freaking Populous. Back in the day, the old school Populous. That's the one I wanted the most out of all those games, which is kind of sad, but interesting. So they're trying to improve their public face. And 5 of these games out of the 7 are available on Steam as well. So did they wake up and decide that, hey, we're going to change our ways, or are they still the same old company and they're just doing this to improve their public image? What do you think?
Until the Origin client doesn't completely screw my machine, I'm never going to install it.
So what you're telling me is that they need to hire some people to make a better piece of software.
Yeah, it does too much weird stuff to the computer.
Well, I guess they really need to sit down and look at some other clients. I like the good old games way. I think that they have the best way of doing things ever. You have an account, you buy everything as DRM free, you can download the executable file, put it on a flash drive, take it to a friend's house, install it if you want to. Or you can just re-download it at any time you want. I like that method the best. That's my favorite. Steam still has the DRM where if you're offline you can't play things. It gets a little bit on, or you can't download new games to play. There is an offline mode on Steam, but I don't like any DRM. I mean, I use Steam for a lot of different things, but the thing that would really make me feel like EA gets it is if they did something like with the Humble Bundle, and they woke up and realized that it's a distribution problem. And piracy is not the real issue here. So I think this is a really cool thing that they're doing, and I hope a lot of you guys are picking up some cool games. But yeah, I'm still skeptical of EA, still, after all this, and that's sad.
No, it's not. It's just good thinking because, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me the 7th or 8th time now, well, shame on me again.
Now, people are still complaining about the games that come out, and they're like, oh, it was like, you guys have an option, you can just not buy it. Remember, we talked about that before. So
we're not horribly cynical by default. They've made us that way.
All right. One of the Xbox One launch titles, called Rise, has microtransactions. So that could be indicative of what we could see on Xbox One. I'm not saying all games are going to have microtransactions, but I am going to say that we're seeing microtransactions from day one. So, and it's got ads. Yep, there's ads.
That's just terrible. I mean, day one downloadable content there's just no. It's like, I just paid $60 for this game, and I'm going to pay $5 for a map. It's available on day one. No,
yeah,
that's not the point of that.
Okay, so of course, you got to pay for Xbox Live, and there's always going to be ads on the service. So you pay for it, and there's ads. No way, no, not happening. There's a new CryEngine demo for. I guess it's kind of like CryEngine 4, but it's just what you're going to be seeing on the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 3, Xbox One, Wii U, PC, all this stuff. It's going to work with all of them. You guys should check it out. It's pretty impressive. The end of the video where the water is evaporating. I cannot wait to see this in video games. That's like worth the entire video. Yeah, there's some really cool stuff. It's really impressive the way the water evaporates. I guess I'm just nerding out over something that's not that big of a deal. When what I really want to play is Broforce. Broforce looks like a ridiculous amount of fun, and it's exactly the opposite of Crysis. The graphics are cheesy and cheap and 2D, and
it's a lot of fun with 2 players on the same computer. Like, I just can't even describe how ridiculous it is.
So if you guys want something ridiculous, Broforce. The name is still kind of bothering me because Maybe it's because I drove through New Jersey a lot lately, and just the name bro just means something different to me. What's up, bro? Come at me.
You could be Blade, and that's what they mean when they say bro. I think it's just they took Rocky and all those people and just made them little pixel art characters, and those are all the bros.
Well, there's an article here we forgot to talk about, Netflix on Linux, but I guess I'm going to cut that article out, but just let you guys know that you guys can get Netflix on Linux thanks to Pipelight. So you want to
Pipelight does some terrible things. It's basically running Windows in the background, but it'll work.
Yeah,
so,
Linux, I mean, you're going to be able to use Netflix soon just because they're working on HTML5 Netflix, so that'll be nice. Okay, that's all we have for you today. You guys should subscribe. I'll see you guys next week at PAX. See you guys there. So thanks again to Corsair for sending us out to PAX. Thanks to MSI for the laptop. Be nice out there editing with some MSI laptops. It'll be madness. We're going to have a lot of fun. We'll see you there. And maybe some special things in store. Maybe some giveaways. Maybe we'll hang out with Linus. Maybe not. Who knows? Anyway, I'll see you guys next time.